Hey guys, it's Teresa from TMD, out and about in LA. Today we are at Eagle Fabric. Come on, let's see what they do inside. Hello, we are here with Divya Lumba, Vice President of Eagle Fabrics.
Hi.
Divya.
Thank you for coming in.
Pleasure.
Happy to have you.
I'm so excited to be here. So tell us all about Eagle Fabrics. How long have you guys been in business?
So we're actually a family business. My father started the company about 40 years ago now. He originally came from the yarn side, making sweaters in his hometown in India, and then came here in his 20s and then did some garments for about 10, 15 years. So he comes from that expertise, and then transitioned into just textiles about in the 80s. And I've been here for about 15 years myself full time, and did some studying in econ and got my master's in business, and worked in tech a little bit so I could bring some of those skills back to this industry.
Very well-rounded then, I would say.
Yeah, we have a good team here. Our staff also has been here anywhere from 15 to 20 years, so we're quite a family.
Oh my goodness.
And on all aspects. So yeah, and we've been doing knit fabrics, and that's our specialty. So we produce all of our fabrics here in LA, so made in USA for all 40 years. It's a commitment that my father had. It's a commitment that I continue to pursue as well. And I think it's just something that is going to be the future of this industry.
Yes, indeed it is.
Yeah.
So tell us how you guys make the fabric here. What do we have? These beautiful colors here.
So I'll actually tell you a little bit how it all starts. Like one of our biggest collections that we started, I think we started partnering with Lenzing, who is a fiber producer in Austria. They harvest their own trees of eucalyptus trees and beechwood trees, which is what consumers know as modal and tencel. And how it starts, we were one of the partners with them back then. So our eco collection has become very extensive over the past decade. And just a background on it is basically the wood chips start here, then get converted into pulp, and then get converted into fiber. And then this fiber actually gets spun into yarn, and then we knit it into fabric.
Wow.
Yeah.
From there to there to there. And this is yarn, right?
This is yarn.
People don't understand. I mean, when I think of yarn, I think of my grandma knitting and crocheting like acrylic fuzzy yarn, but this is yarn.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
And yarn comes in various different fineness. So for example, people are familiar maybe with Supima yarn. Supima is cream of the crop cotton. It's really fine yarn, longer staple, so it yields to a softness to the hand. It also is going to give more durability that way. Combed cotton is also really great. And then we do a lot of organic cotton production, as well as now kind of what's new is going to be recycled cotton. Recycled cotton is a great way to use less water, less energy. It's not recommended 100%. It's not that strong. So we actually do a custom intimate blend of recycled cotton with organic cotton. So that's kind of where the shift of 2023 is going, and got some great results with that.
Sustainability.
Yeah, sustainability.
We all need that. Can you tell me what this yarn is right here?
This is organic cotton.
This is organic cotton.
Yeah, this is organic cotton. And then this here, so when it's in pulp stage, we actually can dye the fiber in this pulp stage into a color. So it will actually yield into making a stripe. So this is a fleece, lightly brushed stripe that was derived from this pulp and then mixed with the natural of the yarn.
Oh my goodness.
And that's all knitted done here.
All in LA.
Yeah.
Amazing. And such a beautiful soft hand on that.
Yeah. Modal and tencel, known for really softness, really drapey, feminine feel. We also do blends where the modal or the tencel is blended with cotton. So it's great for menswear lines, children's lines. So you get that added durability from the cotton. But I think when it comes to the eco-friendly fibers, we have hemp with organic cotton. We have some really new ones that we're working on with pineapple. So that will be for 2024. So that'll be exciting. Cool. But yeah, it's something that we, this is actually a modal rib. So textures are really big.
Mm-hmm.
Some really beautiful colors.
Would you say modal is your specialty here at Eagle Fabrics? Or?
I would. Modal and tencel is a large portion of what we do. Same with organic cotton is really big for us too. Majority of our production are in those fibers. We do the conventional fibers as well, because I know price point is always, you know, a consideration depending on whether the brand's customer base finds it as just a perk or whether it's something they're really committed to. But yeah, when it comes to sustainability, I think, you know, it's something that is what our niche is. We've been doing it for a really long time. We understand the fibers. Each one has its unique personality, really. They all do different things, and that's what you can always come to us for, and we can provide that knowledge of, you know, if let's say you're a kids line and you're like, okay, I want to do rompers, let's say, you know, I wouldn't necessarily say modal by itself is probably the best fit. You need something that's, you know, practical for families. You want something a little durable, easy to throw in the wash. So maybe you should incorporate some organic cotton in there. So that's what we
give it
So that's what we can help do, is give you consulting tips when a brand needs some help.
And so, like, what type of businesses do you usually cater to? Is it big?
So the whole gamut, really. Majority of our business model is we custom make our fabrics. So someone would sample in a small piece of yardage, make a couple prototypes, and then we go into production. Minimums range anywhere from about 800 to 1,000 yards, depending on the fabric.
If it's custom.
And that's our primary business model, is because we make everything. Our collection is, quite frankly, too expensive to stock it all.
Amazing.
But that we do on our most popular items, we do stock it in PFD, so people can dye it if they wanted themselves. So there's some flexibility there. And then we also work with brand new brands, as well as medium-sized brands. For our like growing brands that we work with, I always suggest actually this category here that we have, where it's probably over 300 different fabrics that we stock with absolutely no minimums.
Oh my goodness.
It's a great way to, these are overproductions, first quality fabrics that we've made. So let's say we have, you know, 200 yards of something, someone can take whatever they need. And then let's say it blows off the shelf and you're like, okay, we need to make more. It's because it's something that we've made, we can always replenish it.
And is there a minimum on the replenish?
Yes, replenishment would be somewhere around 800 to 1,000, depending on the fabric.
But at least you can duplicate it and you have that option there.
And then at that point, after your first season, second season, and so on,
good.
You're like, okay, I know. Yeah, exactly. You're like, okay, I can sell the yardage. Yes, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So this is a great way for brands to start off. And then I think one of the fantastic things about upcycling fabrics is that it lends even more creativity to the designer to design into a fabric versus starting off with like a line sheet typically. This is like a really great way where you say, okay, like I love this fleece and it's really soft. This is, I'm going to have not that much stretch. So it's great for, let's say, like a boxier cut sweatshirt, maybe a jogger pant to match. And then we'll have a matching rib as well for it.
And does it come in all the colors as well?
This is all stock.
So, and you have a matching rib for all of those as well?
I do.
Amazing. Yeah. That is really something, especially for small brands just starting out.
Yeah, and same for, let's say, like a golf brand or an athletic polo brand. I have these colors in stock, great for like a men's line. So this is a PK fabric with cotton.
Do you do PFD on PK as well?
We have PFD as well. So anyone, I'd be happy to, if the volume is tough for our machinery, because we're geared more towards larger batch dyeing, I would say. I'm always happy to refer, you know, with other, or reach out to your directory and see. There's so many garment dyers in the industry that can work with PFD fabric. And typically I can do, let's say you need, you know, 5 colors at 100 yards each. I can make the 500 yards for you in PFD. And then at that point, you can dye it into your own colors.
Send it to your own dye house. That's a great offering there. And you guys have, so you have fleece in stock, or
fleece,
jersey, whatever.
Ribs.
Have some specialty.
Lots of texture,
which is amazing.
And then what's been so popular now, which is also one of our stock ones, is pointelle. All the 90s trends are coming back. So pointelle has been really, really popular. We have this in stock, as well as like you want like something that's more.
Oh, look at that.
You could actually use either side of this one.
Yeah, look, it's beautiful
The
texture. And I love the rib on the other side too.
Yeah.
Could even use it for a cuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have colors. So anything in this section is available.
No minimum available. This is a whole section of yarn dye stripes that we have in stock as well. Someone can come into the showroom, see what they like, test out a couple yards even.
So you'll do a sample cut.
And we'll do sample cut.
It out.
Yeah.
Can you show us like the timeline and the process of how it gets from here?
Sure. Yeah. So let's say you come in and you're like, okay, I'm ready to go. I already sampled my yardage, because sampling I will have usually in stock. So we ship it within like a day or two. And then you're like, okay, this is a great fabric. You come to me and you're like, I'm ready to place my production. So I would say we start the process where we have these in stock. One thing that we are, I think, unique in is that we actually have an entire warehouse where we stock yarn and we project out from anywhere from 6 months to a year in advance. So that way, when it comes down to lead times, it really helps shorten lead times for all of our brands. So when they come in and you give me the green light, I can get started right away.
Amazing.
And so from there, we take this yarn and then we set it up on knitting machines. Knitting takes a little bit, some time, I would say, a couple weeks. And then from there, it goes into dyeing and finishing. So these are examples, like this is a jersey fabric in organic cotton. This one, jerseys take a little bit of a shorter time. I would say in total from start to finish, 4 weeks is a pretty safe amount of time to account for. And then this is a hemp organic cotton French terry. This is a Supima French terry. Nice and heavy, that one.
That's a great one.
So I think fleeces, and then as well as prints, I can show you that we also do digital printing. We do digital printing. We do wet printing. So the difference is depending all on the artwork. So wet printing uses screens, and then digital printing is like a photographic print. And we offer both. We also offer pigment printing as well, but which is the one that you feel kind of like a concert tee, where you feel the texture.
Right?
Yeah, so if you want like a more vintage vibe, that's a great option for that. These get absorbed into the fabric. I would say printing then would take about probably 6 weeks or so.
For either wet or...
For either one. I like to cushion in a little bit of time. I'd rather deliver ahead of schedule than be late.
Right.
But I think it accounting for running like a test strike off, we send you a piece, make sure that you're approving it. And then from there, then we'll run the production.
And can you talk about the difference between printing and like yarn dyed or yarn?
Yeah, sure. So yarn dyeing is typically used for stripes. And then you can also print stripes now too. So we actually have a library of stock screens where you can print. Let me see if I have an example here for you. Yeah. So this is actually a printed stripe. And the back.
That's how you can tell, right?
That's how you can tell the difference.
And this is a
versus a yarn dye. Here, let me show you this one. A yarn dye, you see it on both sides.
Yeah, they're both the same.
Yeah. But, printing stripes is a really great place to start with low minimums for growing brands.
What's the minimum on printing?
I mean, I can go down as probably 400 yards, I would say, depending on the fabric. We're just about there.
Like 800.
Versus 800 on yarn dyes if I have that color of the yarn also available. So printing just gives you way more flexibility because this is the same screen with just 3 different colorways, and it looks like an entire palette that you have then for your collection.
Oh, and is it 400 per color or is it 400 for all?
Depending on the fabric, there's some flexibility there, but I think part of what our job is, what we can help do, is see how to finagle to make something work. I usually will ask. I think transparency is really key. I usually ask for like a budget, kind of what's your variety that you're trying to go for. How many colorways do you want to introduce? And then we'll see how we can, because all the minimums are based on the wool size and the weight of the fabric. So it's the calculation that has to come up with making sure that we're also fitting the machines right with the proper ratio and of dyeing and with water and chemical and dye stuff, as well as the fabric itself. Right. Everything's got to be, very technical.
It is very technical.
Yeah.
So Divya, can you tell us how you have seen your company evolve since your father started Eagle Fabric?
Yeah, many ways. I would say, I think that what my father's done is built this really great foundation and has led this business to success for so many years. And then when I came in, and I came in with, a tech background, and I was like, okay, how do we kind of uplift our business in a different way and then build on top of his legacy of what he's been doing? Mm-hmm. And that's actually kind of where our whole upcycled collection came from. I wanted to offer fabrics with no minimums to people all over the country, not just in the LA market, which there's, a much bigger concentration here of supply of fabric. But, someone who's in Maine, I have many customers across the nation now. And so we launched on Etsy. So home sewers, people who are starting out, they can buy what they need, and we ship, nationally. And it was something that I saw was an opportunity for anyone to pursue their passion in this. And they didn't necessarily have to come to LA. And we send swatches out so that they can see the product before shipping yardage. Because coming from not being from this industry, you're not familiar with how things are. And at the end of the day, it's a tangible business. Yes,
definitely.
Yeah. So it's important. Like, they see swatches, then they test out fabric, and then we love seeing photos of people on Etsy saying, "Oh my God, what a beautiful onesie I made," and it was just really, really satisfying for me personally too.
And now they can find you on TMZ as well.
Yes, they can. So I think that's been one really great way we've evolved, is just having more of a national presence,
and more access,
and providing that to the country. And I think also, being a female entrepreneur myself, I've also done a clothing line as well. And I think my perspective from being a female in this industry, which is primarily male dominated, is a unique perspective, because typically a lot of the vendors I work with, a lot of the suppliers I work with are all males. And so, it's a shift, and it takes some getting used to. You just got to remember that, you do have a seat at the table, and, you are driving change. And that's what helps propel you personally as well as your business.
Right. So, and just bringing more women into this side of the business.
Definitely.
I mean, they're definitely on the brand side.
Yeah.
But I think that developing the fabrics that then can go into their brand is really important to see the female perspective.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's on all levels in the supply chain. It's on the administrative side. It's on the textile creativity side. Like, pretty much none of the mechanics that usually do this are female, but there's so much opportunity, because that's where the creativity really is creating textiles and these textures. All of this comes from, playing around with needles on a machine. And so I think that's really where I think it's sometimes easy to forget that creativity is not just on the brand side, but it's really throughout the entire supply chain.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. This is our warehouse and distribution center, and we have a lot of fabric. As you can see, we'll take a walk through here. We'll actually start here. This is our loading dock, where we have a team of people that, well, if you come and pick up fabric, then we will help in loading in that, and then as well as we also offer local delivery here too.
Oh,
so for production, we can always help arrange that.
Okay.
So we have a team there, and then as goods are ready, we do some. We receive them all in here, do all of the paperwork, make sure everything is accounted for, and then I'll lead you this way. So this side is all finished fabric. So the fabrics that I showed you in the front in the showroom, these are all fabrics ready to go, easy to ship, and ready to start cutting and sewing.
Okay.
And that's this entire left side here. Then we also store yarn, and that's the spools that I was showing you, is that we store yarn so that we can start production right away once an order comes in. And then on the right side of the warehouse is where we store gray goods, which are raw material. So prior to finishing the fabrication, once the yarn is knitted, then it's in gray good form. And we do rolling programs with a lot of our big brands to help cut off on lead times, cut down on those. So in order to cut down on that, we actually pre-knit the goods, and then they will assort their colors as they need it. So going from a 6-week lead time, then drops it down to like a 2-week lead time. So there's just a constant rolling of production that way. So when you have a core fabric as a brand, you've always got product on the shelf.
That's really great for your production timeline. Can you explain to us the difference between PFD, gray goods, and already in
finished goods? Sure. Finished. So typically when you run fabric production, it starts in yarn form. And then once you knit it, it's going to be knitted in a tubular way on the machine. And it's called gray goods at that stage.
Do you have any you could show us?
I do, yeah.
In the tube?
So this is an example. It's still on a roll, but it has not been cut. And so these are all in, you'll see they all look like a beige color. It's the natural color of the yarn because nothing has been done to it yet. It's in raw form, so it hasn't been finished, no processes, no softeners, nothing. Okay. And then from there is when it goes into dyeing, finishing, and if it has spandex, it goes through a heat set process to make sure that that recovery of the spandex is happening. And then that's going to be finished fabric. Okay. So that would be an example of what we keep usually on this side. These are all finished rolls. So a lot of the times we will stock PFD, which means prepare for dye. So whether you use it as at a garment dyer, there's actually 3 levels of prepare for dye. There's natural, which is the natural color of the yarn, which is PFD natural. Then there's PFD non-optic, which uses non for no optical agent to make it a bright white. It actually makes it look like an off-white. And natural and non-optic are the ideal scenarios for a garment dyer to work with because no topical finishes are done on it. So it leads to the best absorbency of the dye.
And the color is going to be.
And the color is going to be great.
Spot on.
Yeah. Also evenness, because when you do PFD optic, which is a bright white, the optical agent sits on the surface and you could potentially have some high lows in colors. So it's not an optimal choice if you're going to be dyeing it.
But the PFD white is for white. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So PFD optic white is perfect if you're just going to use it as is.
Wow. So all the way back is stock and gray goods.
All the way back is where we store yarn in boxes. We import the yarn, very little. There's actually only a couple spinners left in the US for yarn. So most of the yarn comes from overseas and then we bring it here. And we actually have a second corporation that we are importing the yarn ourselves. So a lot of people will buy from others in the industry, but we actually have all the partners and relationships that my dad had back in India from his early young age. They've all been in this industry. So a lot of our relationships comes from India, which is where a lot of the best organic cotton comes from. And then also throughout the world, in Korea, Indonesia, we source and only book the most premium yarns. So when it comes to our quality, it's truly what we're known for.
Wonderful. This is an amazing facility. I'm so happy to share it with you.
Thank you.
Our viewers today.
Thank you. No, I'm so happy to have you guys come here and just to kind of show a little piece of what we do every day and that, we're here for the industry and we're happy to help.
All in LA.
All in LA.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.